On this episode of Tell Us a Story, moneymakeunder.com.
Be sure to take the free spending types quiz at becomeUnshoppable.com, and they want to regain control over their household finances.
Talk to me about your philosophy behind the Become Unshoppable.
And logically, I went, that's silly. I tried every type of budget. To be honest, we're all spenders. There's just varying degrees of spenders. It's not a character flaw. It's not your fault that you haven't been able to find something that worked for you. Look at all the possibilities. I have free resources. Come and just be a part of a supportive community. Just the best place to get in all of that information is becomeunshoppable.com, where you'll get the quiz and all of those resources.
Welcome to Tell Us a Story, the podcast by Belmont City Press, where entrepreneurs and sales professionals share their journeys, insights, and strategies for success. In each episode, our guests reveal how they've overcome challenges, established their brands, and leveraged their stories to promote their businesses so you can too. I'm Red Hilton, your host for this episode. And today I am joined by Mary Ann, the owner of Money Makeunder and moneymakeunder.com. So, Mary Ann, tell us a story.
Yes, so like was said, I am the founder and creator of Money Makeunder. And at Money Makeunder, I really help women afford the life they want with the money they already have, with the specific purpose of regaining control over all that wasted money in their finances. And my ideal client is the stay-at-home mom or the working woman who feel that they make good money but have nothing to show for it. And they want to regain control over their household finances. And they're looking to ultimately overcome overspending so that they may ultimately be guilt-free, debt-free, and free to live the life that they've always dreamed of. And you can discover more about us and what we do at becomeunshoppable.com. And we can easily be reached at Mary Ann at becomeunshoppable.com. Be sure to take the free spending types quiz at becomeunshoppable.com so that you too can become unshoppable.
That's fabulous. I love a quiz. And I love the fact that you have a quiz to identify how it is people are shopping so that they can rein it in. It's sort of like you don't know what you don't know. And once you sort of identify what your triggers are, I'm assuming, it is easy for you to sort of tidy some things up.
Yes, yes. And this is not like one of those quizzes that are out there. I've taken almost all of those quizzes, and most of them, if not all, are like, you're a spender. It's like, no, duh. I could have told you that. And so this is really geared toward what type of spender are you? What drives your urge to overspend? And it's very specific, and it gears your spending plan. So it's very purposeful. It's not just a quiz for good information. And it really does give you tips right after, and then it gears your spending plan.
Fabulous. So bring us to where you are. How did you get to where you founded Money Makeunder?
Sure. I have been struggling for years with overspending, and I tried it all. I tried budgeting. I tried every type of budget. I read every finance book out there. I read every blog. I listened to podcasts, and every time I tried to tackle my finances, it wasn't working, and I couldn't stop overspending. And so it just seemed like I just kept hitting this roadblock. I wanted to fix overspending, but every time I was asking questions, it was like, just make a budget or just stop spending. And a budget didn't help me. And so I thought, okay, well, it's not the budget. It's got to be what I'm spending my money on. So why don't I just look at my spending? I'm not going to look at my bills. I'm not going to look at my spending. I'm my fixed expenses. I'm going to look at just my spending. And that's when I got a really good idea of what I was spending my money on. And it was a lot of money. It was hundreds, thousands of dollars every month. And here I was going, it'd be really nice to take a vacation. It'd be really nice to afford childcare, but we can't afford it. And yet I was looking at my spending going, yes, we can. We can afford that 10 times over. but I just was so unaware of the spending I was doing. And that's when I really began to dive deep into spending. And I realized that overspending is not a budgeting problem, it's a spending. And once you figure out how to curb overspending, then you can make a budget work. But until then, you're just going to be running into that same brick wall like I did. And so it was really born out of necessity.
Mm-hmm.
And once I carved my own path, because there really was no path, I literally typed into Google how to stop spending before it happens. And nothing came up except budgeting. And so I really had to carve my own path and look at the psychology of spending and how to stop spending before it happens. And once I did, that was how I was able to stop overspending and ultimately become unshoppable and overcome that urge to shop, which is what we really need to be working toward. A budget can almost be a band-aid sometimes. We say, I'll just make a budget and I'll do better next month. I'll do better next month with a budget. But if we don't fix the problems that are causing the bleeding, it will just continue to bleed over and over.
So your budget sort of fixes, or your budget doesn't fix it. It's the understanding that does. It's sort of like when you have kids and it's like, discipline is what you give your kids so you don't have to give them punishment. And it's the same thing with your money matters. I'm assuming that if you have the
Mhm.
discipline, if you have something that you're sticking to and you have an understanding, you aren't going to, have any surprises that maybe you're not exactly looking forward to next month. Talk to me about your
Exactly.
philosophy behind the become unshoppable, because that just seems like something that is missing that maybe we're not taught.
Absolutely. For me, it felt like such a need to shop. And, we're told we have wants and we have needs, but it really felt like a need. And logically, I went, that's silly. Why does shopping feel like a need when I know it's not? And so that was really my question. Why do I feel this deep need to shop? And I'm very interested in the psychology of why we buy. And I started doing research and I discovered that it all comes down to unmet needs. We all have needs that need to be met
Mm-hmm.
to thrive. And when they're not being met, we have to solve that issue within us. However, we don't do that. We tend to fix it with external things. We tend to buy the goodies and eat the sweets and buy the bag, buy the purse. And become unshoppable is really overcoming that instinct to shop and really get to the root of the issue and overcome that issue within yourself so that you can thrive without those external necessities and those external materialistic needs.
So you can afford the life you want with the money you have. I
Absolutely.
heard that once. I heard that once.
Yeah. Wise words.
So give me some misconceptions. You talk about it's about unmet needs. What are some other misconceptions that people have about spending, or, why budgets don't necessarily work? What is it that someone would walk away from a few minutes with you understanding that they didn't before?
Sure. Um, there's definitely a myth of, well, I'm a spender, I'm a saver. And to be honest, we're all spenders. There's just varying degrees of spenders. There's a reason why, if you're not a big spender, there's a reason why you don't spend. It's because you crave that security, you crave that money,
Mm-hmm.
financial security, and not the security of things. And so that is in my definition of spender. Everyone's a spender. It's just a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're a big spender, there's a reason for that. It's not a character flaw, it's a need that's not being met. And that I think is a big myth, is that shopaholic, you're a big spender. Even I use that in my phrasing. You're a big spender, you're a shopaholic. And those terms are used very loosely
Mm-hmm.
to describe this issue that's really just, I am not getting my needs met And the way that I'm meeting them just to survive and function is through shopping. And if it's not shopping, it's drinking, it's overeating, it's whatever your favorite thing is.
Hmm.
Shopping is just the easiest to hide. It's the easiest to, but it's also the easiest to flaunt.
Hmm.
So it's a very taboo subject. And so I think that myth of there's only savers and there's only spenders, but we're all spenders. There's just different degrees.
So on your website, you talk about basically the 6 different sort of spending archetypes. Could
Mhm.
you give us sort of that 10,000-foot perspective, like a brief overview on each of the archetypes and maybe some of the, the qualities of such that maybe people might be able to recognize in themselves?
Absolutely. So the first spending type is the necessity spender. And the necessity spender, they spend most of their money on things needed for the household, for themselves, and for family members and close friends. And the reason they buy is based on the need of the item. And then we have the bargain spender. And the
Hmm.
bargain spender spends most of their money on bargains. Now, the reason for their purchase depends on the price, not necessarily how much they need the item. So
Hmm.
they could need the item, but the big determining factor for the bargain spender is the price. And then we have the emotional spender. And the emotional spender, they spend most of their money during times of heightened emotion. Now, this could be times of heightened positive emotions or negative emotions. We
Okay.
tend to associate negative emotion with overspending, but we also overspend when we're celebrating, when we want to capitalize on a moment. That's
Hmm.
the emotional spender. And then we have the impulsive spender. They spend most of their money on impulse. Now, the reason for an impulsive purchase is usually because there's an element of scarcity or there's a unique characteristic that they think, I don't want to miss out on this unique characteristic because I'm never going to find it again,
Hmm.
or I'm never going to get this item at this price ever again. It's that if I don't buy it now, I'm never going to get it, or it's I want to have it if I need it in the future. So they're
Hmm.
very impulsive about I'm going to use it. It's just a matter of time. So I'm going to buy it now. And then we have the passive spender. They are not very aware of they're not aware of the use of their money. So they tend to think that they have more than they do and they spend more than they should. And it's more because, not because they're lazy, it's more because money itself is not intrinsically valuable to them. It's not motivating for them.
Hmm.
So if they're comparing their money to the item or the experience, they're always going to choose the other thing, not money, because it's not valuable to them. It's not motivating to them. The other experience or item is much more valuable to them. So they will choose that other thing. And then we have the saving spender, and that sounds like an oxymoron, but the saving spender, they have characteristics of both a saver and a spender, but it's very cyclical. So you can almost graph it on a chart and they'll go through periods of intense saving that usually follow intense spending
Hmm.
periods. And then they'll go, oh, I need to do better. So they save and they save and they save. And then they go, man, it's been a while since I've spent. I deserve to splurge on myself. I deserve to treat myself. And then that starts the cycle again. And so it's very cyclical depending
Hmm.
on what triggers that need.
So, and that's 6 of them.
Yes.
All right. In your experience in with your coaching and your clients and everything else, what is, I don't want to say the most popular, but what is the most common that you see? Is there one that stands out?
That That's a great question. So before I answer that, before I sent the spending quizzes out, the quiz out to test and then get feedback and then ultimately release to the public,
Mm,
I thought it was going to be impulsive spender and emotional spender. I was
mm,
convinced. I
yeah.
was like, those are going to be the two because that's what we hear about and that's what we see on social media. But the by far the two that are most common are the necessity spender and the bargain spender.
Mm,
And I can't help but think it's because of the times we live in.
Mm,
All of us have realized that we have these needs, and with the shortages we've had, we've started to stock up. As necessity spenders, we tend to stock up to feel that security that if all else fails, I have what I need to survive, and my family
mm,
has what we need to survive. We all did that. I mean, the toilet paper shortage is a testament of that. We like logically, it doesn't make sense that we were out there buying toilet paper when we had plenty in our storage or it was going to be restocked. But
right.
it was that it's a necessity. I can't go without it. And it's that security, it's that safety. And then the bargain spender, people are having to pinch pennies a lot more than before. And it's more of a widespread issue. And so we're finding that bargain spending is more common. Now, I will say the thing that I like about the spending types is it's not a character flaw, like I said. There are good and not so great things about each spending type. For example, the bargain spender,
Mm-hmm.
pinching pennies, finding bargains, those are great things. But you have that balance where you have the person that buys not one, not two, but they buy 20 of those items because it's such a good deal. I've got to get 20 of them. And so it's that balance. So we
Mm.
need to get the bargains, but do we really need 20 of those items? We need to
Depends
have
on the
what we
item. That's all I'm saying.
survive.
Just
I
depends on the
know.
item. All right.
I know, right? Yeah. And so that's what I love is it depends on the item, it depends on the person, and it's so individualized. And budgeting and a lot of quizzes, a lot of finances are not. They're like a one size fits all approach. And that is
Mm-hmm.
not how spending is. It is individual.
Fabulous. What else do you want our listeners to know? Because obviously, and I'm going to assume that there's sort of a level of I don't want to say embarrassment, but maybe someone feeling as though, as you said, that this is a character flaw and that maybe it might be shame that is keeping people from reaching out. So if someone comes to you, how, guide us through sort of the process of sort of bringing them in and letting them know that they're in a safe, in a safe place, that the, soft place to fall, as I always say. You know what I mean? When I always say, be the person you needed when you were struggling. So how do you demonstrate that? And if someone were to reach out to you and want some advice, what is it? How is it you bring them through the process?
Sure. I always start out by hearing their story, by hearing, why now? What led you to this point? Because we
Hmm.
all have that story, that journey. That's what brought me to this point. What's their story? And then I like to emphasize the things that they are doing because a lot of the time people think I'm not doing anything or I'm not doing enough and there's just so much guilt. But the fact that you're coming for advice, that you're searching for answers, that is a huge step because you could just be over in denial like
Hmm.
90% of us are. And the other part is it's not your fault that you haven't been able to find something that worked for you.
Hmm.
There are so many avenues of things that you can try, and it really is a trial and error method. And I just want people to realize that if budgeting hasn't worked for you, if another approach hasn't worked for you, there's a reason, and it might be that you need to look at just your spending and you need to look at your emotional needs underneath the spending. And I tend to, harp on budgeting. Budgeting is not bad. It's it's budgeting is a balance of saving and spending. And if you can't spend within those limits, you won't be able to save. And so that's where I see people are like, I'm trying to budget, but I can't because the spending element is not where it needs to be. And so I say that because people think, oh, you're anti-budget. I was at first because I was very much like, no, I don't want to stop my fun spending. I don't want to cut like dieting, I don't want to cut my carbs and cut chocolate. But the thing I love about this approach is that you get to see where the money is going and you think, oh my word, look at all the possibilities.
Hmm.
I can do so much more with this money than I'm doing right now. And that's what I love because budgeting has always felt very restrictive to me. But now I have a reason to budget because I see, oh, I'm spending so out of control. I need to rein it in. And that's what I teach in Become Unshoppable, is to just overcome that urge so you can be in.
Mm. Now, you had an extremely successful beta launch of your program, and you have another one coming up. And I'm assuming because there's a need, and if, I always say when sort of start a business or you're wondering who your ideal client is, if you can't identify it, it's you 5 years ago. So you're sort of looking for the Mary Anns of 5 years ago, that are like, hey, I should do something. So you had an extremely successful launch of your program, and you have one coming up as well, depending upon when people are listening to this. Of course, it may or may not have already happened, but talk to us about the first launch, talk about what you learned, and then what you're going to be doing in your second launch, and probably a third, fourth, fifth, and moving on into the future as well. So if people are hearing this, they can get in touch and be like, hey, I want to get in on this too.
Absolutely. So for my beta launch, I was so excited to dive deep into the emotions because I discovered how emotions really run the show. And if we don't learn to identify them, we won't ever be able to control them. And so emotions are at the center of everything. And so in my beta launch, I really wanted to dive deep into emotions. What I didn't realize was that the way I figured out my emotions was going through very concrete steps of I needed to look at my receipts. I needed to look at what I was buying, why I was buying it. And so in the beta launch, I felt like I kind of ignored the ABCD process that I constructed for my own process of becoming unshoppable. And
Mhm.
I thought, no, 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 I need to just focus on emotions because that's really what helps you become unshoppable. But we have to have concrete steps. Otherwise, we're just lost and we're thrown into the wind. And so I realized that in my beta launch, and the feedback I got was, we love that you focused on the emotions. We love that it's so much different than the budgeting approach. It's so good, but I need concrete examples. I need steps. And so I went, okay, I need to reintroduce those concrete steps and explain the emotional journey that they're going to go through.
Mhm.
And so in this launch in the second week of July, I am going to do that. And they're very concrete steps. They are proven and they are successful. And I'm walking you through it step by step, week by week. We go through what you're going to do that week, so you're not guessing and floundering like I did for 5 years. And so it's amazing. I mean, there is nothing like this out there because there was nothing out there like that for me, and there is nothing. And so I created something because I didn't want people to waste all the time, waste all the money, waste all of the effort trying to fix spending.
Mhm.
It's just, I just can't believe, why is no one else talking about this? And I want to be the person talking about it
Yeah.
and never shutting up about it.
Who's fun at parties? Be the
Yeah.
person you needed when you were struggling. I say that all the time. And, if maybe somebody knows what you know, but they aren't shooting it from shouting it from the rooftops. And what could they have, saved you for, you from, and everything else. So do you do mostly group? Do you do one-on-one? What is your ideal client? Possible, who is your ideal client? Because you did a beta, you've done launches and everything else. Like, who is really your ideal client? Who are you talking to right now? And who are you saying, look, I see you. I see your struggle and I can help.
My ideal client is the woman that has tried to fix spending and it's just not worked. And it's worked on paper, but it just doesn't work in real life. And they're just going, I'm the problem. I'm the problem. What's wrong with me? It's not you, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
That that's who I work with, because you're the stay-at-home mom, you're the working woman. You don't have time to go through research and read books and do all this stuff. And so that's who I work with. And I just, I want to be that person to create that supportive network. And to answer your question, I work in groups because I felt so alone in this
Mm,
process. I would try to gauge, you know, how do you do? What do you spend on groceries? What, because money is such a taboo topic.
mm,
And it shouldn't be, because we need to break down those barriers and we need to just open up. And so I do small groups because I want people to be comfortable talking with others. And we learn so much from other people. And we learn habits. We what is it? We exemplify the habits of the 5 people around us. I
mm,
want those 5 people to be in this group
mhm.
because that's who you will learn from. They're not the people that you're around right now, because otherwise your spending would be a little better.
Right.
And so that's what I found the most success with, is the small group weekly coaching, that you get the group coaching, but then you get the one-on-one element where I'm available to do more of a tailored approach. And so it's really kind of the best of both.
I guess when our moms used to say to us, "Show me your friends and I'll show you who you are," she didn't know what she was talking about, but that's what she meant, I suppose. And I guess in a group, a rising tide lifts all boats, so if someone else is saying, "Hey, I'm stepping forward and being brave and, discovering what's causing, my overspending or my shopping or whatever it is," that gives someone else the bravery of the step or the path forward to do it as well. So your
Mhm.
launch program starts second week in July. That is your second one, and you're going to grandfather people in from the
Yep.
first group and everything else. Now, you'll let people join in any time. They don't have to wait for it to cycle around again or anything like that.
Nope, they
They're
can join. Yep, they can join anytime. The recordings are available. The downside of not joining at the open date is you don't get that live component,
mm.
which really enjoy, but you will have those replays that you'll have access to. And so you're welcome to join anytime, but that live component is really special. So
And one more time, how does somebody find you? I know you have moneymakeunder.com and become unshoppable.com.
yes.
Where is it they start? Where do they start if they want to
So
reach
I
you?
would start at becomeUnshoppable.com. That's where both the quiz, the spending types quiz, is located, and my course, to both look at what the course is about, more details about it, the cost, all of that. You can sign up or get more information at becomeUnshoppable.com.
Okay. All right. What is one thing you want to leave our guests remembering from you?
That we're all in this together and you're not alone. Don't feel like you are the problem. You simply haven't had the knowledge or the tools presented for you to thrive. So
Mhm.
don't feel like you're the problem. There are resources. Come join. And if you're not ready to do the course, I have free resources. Come and just be a part of a supportive community. Just the best place to get in all of that information is becomeUnshoppable.com, where you'll get the quiz and all of those resources.
Fabulous. So I always like to ask people, do you have a Monty? Do you have a meaningful one or two word phrase mantra that our listeners can, take away from our chat today? Like, it could be something that is about self-reflection, it could be inspirational, or it could be sort of a reminder of a lesson learned. What's your Monty? What sort of brings you to where you need to be when sometimes you need a reminder?
Sure. It's actually my name, Become Unshoppable. I feel like shopping was so much a part of my life, and I thought it brought so much joy and it was who I was. But now, e- after living the principles that I teach and Become Unshoppable, I've realized that shopping has taken so much from me. It's taken my time, it's taken my money, it's taken my mental energy, and I'm so much better without shopping. And
Mm,
so Become Unshoppable is really something that is a Monty for me. That's like, it's something that I'm tempted with every day, but I want to maintain that Become Unshoppable mantra, because that is who I want to be, and it's not where my values are. They're with my family, they're
mm.
with my career. And so that's what I remind myself, and what I want to remind others, that it is possible. and it's something that we can all work toward.
Fabulous. So we've spent the last half hour or so talking about you, your business, become unshoppable, Money Makeunder and everything else. I want to sort of see, peel back the curtain a little bit and see who you are. So I'm going to give you, this is my rapid fire segment where I just give you two choices and you just go with your gut. And we'll sort of start to peel back that onion to see who you really are, at your core and everything else. So you ready?
Yep, ready.
Jazz or rock?
Rock.
All right. Spicy or mild?
Spicy.
Oh my God, no. All right. Laptop or desktop?
Laptop.
Really? I'm a desktop girl.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Salad or sandwich?
Oof. Sandwich.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone should go with sandwich, but if you're not, if the carbs are not it, you got to go with the salad. So
I know
maybe
there was that hesitation.
Yeah.
Ooh, I should say salad, but no, I'm going with sandwich.
But you can put your salad in a sandwich.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a sub roll with like a Greek salad in it? It is the greatest thing in the entire world.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It's a gift.
I'm doing that from now on. It's a salad. It's still a salad.
It's the greatest ever. Tacos or burritos?
Tacos.
Okay. Heels or flats?
Flats.
Yeah.
I love the look of heels. My feet don't love them.
No. It's just fun. Camping or glamping?
Glamping.
Yeah, glamping. Like my youngest daughter, like if it's not like a 5-star motel, she thinks she's camping. Like it's just she's at that level. Disney or Pixar?
Disney.
Okay. Pen or pencil?
Pen.
All right. Yoga or Pilates?
Neither.
That's fine. That should be the other answer. Movies or TV shows?
Movies.
Really? So you have a much longer attention span than I do.
I do. Absolutely. I do.
I watch TV shows, but without the commercials because I speed through them because even that 22 minutes that they try to fill, absolutely not.
You're like,
absolutely
I'm
not.
out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
All right. Reading or writing?
Oh, that's hard.
I know.
It's supposed to be rapid fire. Writing.
It never is. It never is. But yeah. All right. So what I like to do is the previous guest that was here left a question for you to have you answer. You ready?
I'm ready.
Where have you traveled that you felt the most connected to? And maybe prior to a couple years ago, you might have said the mall, but we're going to expand on that slightly. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, because we've moved on from this.
Yeah, absolutely. So where are you spending your time now when you're traveling and leaving and, and everything else? So where have you traveled that you felt the most connected to?
I would say this was years ago. I was so fortunate to have the opportunity to be in Switzerland. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Before that point, I'd always been like a beach, sand girl all the way, but we were up in the mountains. It was just breathtaking. And I really have a special spot for just mountains and the beauty there. But I mean, if you tell me now, like, where would you want to go camp? Where would you want to go vacationing? I'd say the beach anytime. But I felt so connected in Switzerland.
Nice. Well, that's not a bad place to be connected, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Your parting words. What do we leave our listeners with?
Just keep on keeping on.
Right.
Stop shooting on yourself. I had to say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. Stop that. Like, find something you want to do and let that motivate you. And I think that's so much more motivating and fulfilling than the shoulds and the guilt.
Find something you want to do and let that motivate you. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so very much. And for being my guest here and for sharing your story and your insights with us today. I appreciate your time. It's extremely valuable. And I hope I honored that here today.
You did. Thank you so much.
To our listeners, if you have a story to share, visit tellasastorypodcast.com. If you're an aspiring author, a seasoned business owner, or looking to elevate your personal brand, visit BelmontCityPress.com for expert advice on writing your own success story. Trust the next chapter because you are the author. Now, tell us a story.